Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first, but also the fourth episode of the WandaVision recap. Does that make sense?
No.
Basically, I've been on holiday, and you haven't been on holiday, but you don't know how to press record, so you couldn't do these episodes by yourself, could you?
I've been practicing in front of a mirror with a hairbrush. But mostly what I do is I riff off you, so if there's nobody there...
That's right. What do you do?
Mostly silence.
Exactly.
Yeah, but my hair looks great.
Oh, you look terrific, if you don't mind me saying so.
It was less riffing and more brushing,
So the idea is that hopefully from here on out, we're going to do kind of a WandaVision review, recap,
right.
Easter eggs, theories, all of those kind of things.
The ultimate WandaVision recap show.
Exactly. You might just want to listen to this because Collins put this together, which we really appreciate. It's probably one of those waggly lines or whatever that go up and down. Because that's quicker to put out than an extensive video, you know what I mean?
That's right. All he has to do is time out the amount of talking we do and then waggle a line.
That's right. A skipping rope.
Yeah, that's right.
And then he films that, and then that's how it comes
Then
together.
he ray traces it?
Then he ray traces it, that's right. And there's green screen, there's VFX involved. I don't know the specifics of it. That's his problem. We do this.
Yeah, we do that, we pay for the ping pong ball suit, and that's it.
That's right. So because we haven't done the previous three episodes, what we're going to do kind of a quick recap on thoughts leading up to this latest episode. There's time codes if you do want to jump ahead to the latest episode, but it's all spoilers essentially.
Yeah, that's
so if
right.
there's anything that you do want to know, you can jump ahead.
If you're listening to this and you're like, this will be my video to determine whether or not I watch WandaVision, you're in the wrong place, baby.
Get out of here.
Get out of here.
Baby. You're a baby. Go back to sleep.
Yeah.
Baby. So, okay, well, how does it feel for you? Because I know a lot of people, like, leading up, you had an interesting thought on this on our podcast, The Weekly Planet, where we briefly talked about this, where it was a show where they told you exactly what it was going to be, and then it was that.
And people are still unhappy
and
about
not
it.
everybody, obviously.
No, I've been enjoying it a lot, but I think it's initially, especially the first three episodes especially, it was exactly as it was on the tin. Yeah. It was... Every episode, it's Wanda and Vision in a different sitcom reality, and they're getting up to sitcom hijinks.
Yes,
and nobody gets punched. And some people on the internet were not happy about that.
There might be a pratfall or two.
Yeah, right.
Or you open a door and somebody's doing a wacky thing or whatever. But yeah, you're absolutely right. But for me, I enjoyed that because I grew up on. I'm not as old as I Love Lucy. I look it, but I'm not. But I did grow up on a lot of I Love Lucy, and we watch like Bewitched and all those kind of things, and seeing like a very accurate representation. But it's not like tongue in cheek. It's just like this is what it would be, and they're using the same cameras and lighting, and all the crew are dressed up in this. We don't even see in that period.
And an actual
clothing.
studio audience that they bust in, I guess, and had them react as if it were a real sitcom, and then somehow none of them spilled the beans.
But I think also if you were like, I went to the WandaVision like sitcom filming, what are you spoiling really?
That's a good point, actually, yeah.
You know? Yeah. So it's like, because with obviously the latest episode, that's when things really kind of open up into what's going on in the universe. But yeah, I think also I was a little bit surprised that they opened the can of what's happening already. I thought they were going to do, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and then reveal.
Yeah, but they do the Young Sheldon episode and then they reveal what's happening.
Exactly.
But yeah, you're right. I think this is probably speaking as to what I spoke about a minute ago, the idea that people might not be happy with, watching some superheroes who are not doing any punching. There's not any action. I think they've deliberately put it in here so we get the modern day exposition. We get some recurring characters that we know, but they've just mistimed it. And if anything, it should have been after episode 1. I don't know. But I think this is actually... For me personally, this is a great time to do this.
Yeah, definitely. I think also there was part of me that was like, I was looking forward to like the Full House Roseanne era of sitcoms, which we obviously are going to get.
Yes.
But then we cut away to regular MCU stuff because that's what this episode really is, because you get, is it Randall Park?
Randall Park, yeah.
And we get Kat Dennings.
Who's Dr. Darcy
who's
now.
Dr. Darcy. Who, look, I know a lot of people don't like, especially after Thor the Dark World. But I did like her in like initial Thor. I thought she was good. It was weird in Thor the Dark World because she's the wacky sidekick and she had a wacky sidekick.
I still think that's great.
But
that's the natural progression.
I thought she was good in this, actually. I thought it was a good inclusion.
And look, and I love the through line of Randall Park's character finally nailing the appearing card trick. That he's been trying to figure out since Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like I appreciate that he seems to have settled into this weird MCU
Coulson-esque.
universe. Yeah,
and he's pre-Ages of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah,
actually,
like prior to this, he was kind of in way over his head. But clearly, in the time we haven't seen him, he's decided to knuckle down and really get a hang of this. And he's just like, a whole town's disappeared, and I guess I'm okay with that.
And these guys, like the cops out the front, are saying there's no city, and he's just standing there like, yeah. So this is what we're kind of dealing with at this point, yeah. But him to me really feels like that, that Martin Freeman pre-death Coulson kind of guy. Do you know what I mean? Kind of like, what is this? And let's just figure it out, I guess.
Yeah, but I like them as a duo. I thought they were a good team.
Me too. Yeah, absolutely. Then there's the new kind of whoever the boss is of whatever his name is. I don't know. The new sword guy, shield. He's one of those guys. You know what I mean? And then of course we had the return of the John Rambo family. Of course, not obviously not, but we had the opening of the episode, and it took me like a few seconds to work out what was going on. That being the unsnapping. Where everybody's coming back into the real world, because if you remember the last Spider-Man movie. From what we saw from that, they were just kind of blinked back into existence. But this, it was like a gradual...
And it was played for laughs, a lot of it.
Exactly.
It was like, what kind of wacky situations abound from this? But now it's like, this shows us like what the serious implications of this kind of thing would be. And
they're all kind of, fading in at different times. Do you know what I mean? It's not just happening, so you run into a person in the corridor, you know what I mean, who's just reappeared. But I like that idea of like timing. I always forget the Rambos. Who was the one from Captain Marvel?
Maria,
yeah. And this is Monica. Yeah, that's right. Who eventually becomes a Captain Marvel.
I say that with confidence.
But maybe the other way around.
I think it's the way I said, yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but that was a bit of a shock to me that they just went, yeah, my mum's dead. Like that person in Captain Marvel from a few years ago, dead.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, we won't see that person again, but that's the kind of thing that they couldn't really do in TV shows prior to this. Like,
that's true.
Kill somebody from a movie just kind of willy-nilly.
But in the interim, she has established SWORD.
Yes.
So in the comic books, SWORD stands for Sentient World Observation and Response Department. I had to look that up. And they're like the
Imagine if people begrudged you for that. You fake nerd.
That's right. And in the comic books, generally speaking, they look outwards and they look at outer space threats. They're like S.H.I.E.L.D., but instead of protecting the Earth. But in this version, and I because we'd seen some implications that they were involved in this, that like what are they doing on Earth and watching out for Wanda and Vision. So in the MCU, it now stands for Sentient Weapon Observation and Response Division.
Right, okay.
So the sentient weapons in this case are Wanda and Vision, and I assume everybody who's superpowered.
Yeah.
Like they
there might be some others in here in the town that we'll talk about potentially, because there's some hints towards people who are in protective custody potentially or something like that.
So based on the dialogue, it seems that they were initially for looking outwards because of all the funny stuff that's been happening.
Sitcom
they're moved more towards looking at sort of on-Earth threats, which explains the switch. And so I guess, they keep tabs on Wanda and Vision and other various Avengers and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. But it also seems that like even though Vision is back, they were very surprised that he was. I mean, everybody...
Because of the big ding in his head.
Because the big ding in his head. And I think I mentioned that on our show. My theory literally was, I think he's walking around with a big ding in his head, but nobody can see it. And I was kind of surprised to be right on that one thing for once.
Yeah, and so Wanda is intermittently aware of that. So we do get a snippet in episode 4 where the illusion that she has created for herself drops away, and she is not aware. So for the most part, she doesn't seem to be aware that she's brought him back to life somehow. Yeah. So she is shocked when she sees him without the illusion of himself still being alive.
See, I'm of the thinking that she is mostly aware.
Oh.
And that she like that kind of mask or facade has slipped. And so that's kind of shocking for her to see that.
Yeah, right.
I think what we're dealing with
I see what you're saying,
with Vision is like he's like there's memories of him because he's a computer. So it's like a damaged hard drive. So
sure.
there's some bits and pieces still working in there, but a lot of
there's some Bitcoin in him.
Yeah, there might be some Bitcoin. You got to mine that Bitcoin.
She's only got one
GameStop.
She's only got one password try left, and then it's all over. She can't get that Bitcoin out.
But I think that she's kind of filling in the blanks of
Yeah.
him. And I don't
Yeah.
know like how that's going to end up at the end of the series, but it could be a situation where
Mm.
he's completely disappeared or he's rebuilt. It's happened in the comics before. I know with I think the original Days of Future Past, the Vision is being used for by the bad guys. Like he's hooked up to a machine and it's like half of him and they're kind of siphoning off
His Bitcoin.
He's Bitcoin. I can't remember what they're doing. Something to do with looking into the future.
Yeah, right,
or it might
right.
be a different thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But what I thought was really interesting about this episode as well is this feels more like the MCU that we know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
The curtain comes down. It's revealed that this is all Wanda probably.
She has somehow ended up in this town, and her powers have seemingly taken the various citizens of the town, some perhaps not all, and given them all new identities in this universe.
Yeah.
And she can control the reality
Yeah.
that they're in.
And they're sort of just wandering about, in between that, doing various sitcom things. There was a question regarding who's censoring the episodes, because the stuff that we see behind the curtain of like the Vision with a big ding in his head walking around
Yes,
being a grey, dead-eyed zombie man, which, by the way, horrifying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, real spooky. But is she censoring that going out to the outside world, or is that like another force?
An outside force, yeah.
Because I think that like most of everything in these kinds of situations, there's probably another thing or villain going on at the same time. And there's been theories regarding Catherine Hahn's character,
Yes.
who's named Agnes. But you've obviously heard the Agatha Harkness theory.
She
no doubt, yeah.
She may be a character from the Marvel comic books who is an actual witch, as in a magic witch, who in the comic book sort of teaches Scarlet Witch how to hone her powers in a more magic-y way as opposed to sort of a mutant kind of way.
And they're also sometimes enemies maybe as well.
Sometimes enemies, yeah.
But friends maybe also.
Sometimes
And
friends.
neighbours.
Yeah.
There's also, I saw some people mentioning this, that when the names went up of the people who are in the show, well, they're real people, that both her and Dottie don't have proper identities.
Oh, they haven't determined who it is yet.
Yeah.
Right.
So that could just be we didn't see that, or that one of those two or both of them are in protective custody and they're the real reason that they were looking into a missing person in the first place.
Yeah, right.
Because I don't think the missing...
Maybe that's why Scarlet Witch went to the town.
Yeah, because I don't think the missing person was Scarlet Witch initially, because there would have been mentioned that the missing person is this Avenger, because they were surprised when she was there. They weren't
That's
like,
true, yeah.
oh, this is the person who lives here.
Yeah.
I have a theory that potentially she went to this town, like you mentioned, to look for help, to bring back Vision, and perhaps it was like, well, you need to rebuild memories, and she's just doing that like off the basis of she probably grew up with like American sitcoms despite living in Sokovia, like we did here. We grew up in Australia, but we grew up on a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Luckily, she didn't grow up on MTV's The Real World.
I know, right?
What would this show be like?
Real and rude.
Rude.
Too rude and real. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think there's going to be like a real witch situation going on here, right?
Yeah, maybe. But again, I'm not sure that Agatha might be the villain. I mean, there might even be an additional villain pulling the strings.
Yeah, there's been some talk of Mephisto potentially.
Yeah.
Because he's a reality-altering demon and whatnot.
Sure.
And one of like a popular sitcom trope, and we
The
see
devil.
The devil. Like, just bring in the devil.
That's right.
And everyone goes, the devil. We love him. Yeah. But you see it in like... you might see it in MASH where they mention like wives and husbands at home, or you'll see it in like Frasier where
Maris.
Maris, exactly. It's like they mention these off-screen kind of partners that we never see, and Agnes mentions that she has a husband that we don't see, which could just be like a sitcom thing where you don't see him.
Yeah.
But other people are like, it could be like a Mephisto kind
Could
of
be,
situation. Yeah. So I think that's entirely possible.
I wonder if in the rewatching of this, when the series is finished, we can go back and check out all the clues. What I enjoyed about this episode is that we did get the revelation of who has been watching them since the start of the series, and also all their various attempts to sneak into that reality and try and figure out what's going in there, from the guy they send in like the
hazmat
suit that becomes a beekeeping outfit, the drones speaking through the radio. I didn't go back, I didn't have time, but I wonder if is that Randall Park's voice? Is it recognizably Randall Park? I bet if I go back,
100% I would
I'll be
say,
like,
yeah.
damn it, of course it was.
How dare you? I mean, didn't you hear his Keanu Reeves rap? You should have.
It's true. Guys, we've got one chance at this.
Yeah.
I'm going to pump this song through and we'll see if we can save him.
I thought it was interesting how they kind of retroized the things that went in. Like a drone becomes a toy helicopter, and like a rope becomes like an
old-timey rope.
An old-timey skipping rope or whatever was going on there.
Hey, friend of the show, Nando V Movies.
I know Nando. Great YouTube channel.
That's right, on Twitter. He put up a photo of one of the people and their alternate identities.
Yeah.
In this world, and it's one of the sort of the sword file cards that we see up on screen.
Okay.
And it's about a man named Abalash, and it says Abalash expresses concern for his father and sister. This information was obtained when Vision awakened him. Is Wanda controlling a whole town? Physical safety of residents is now in question. When Vision releases him, Abalash becomes Norm again. It's some clues, I guess. I guess the people of S.W.O.R.D. are seeing more than we're seeing, but it seems to suggest that once they're out of when they're not being observed by the sitcom audience, they might revert back to their normal selves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I think is interesting, yeah.
I'd see that's something I wanted to bring up. So Monica Rambeau, do you think she was undercover there, or do you think she was under the influence of whatever was happening?
Good question, James.
Because they see her like sitting there and they're like, is she scoping this out? Is she just trying to fit in, or is this affecting her also?
Because by the end of episode 4, she hasn't woken up. We get her surrounded by sword troops as she's been ejected, but we don't know anything about what she hasn't explained any of her situation yet. Yeah. So we don't know, James.
We don't really know, do we?
Probably a bit of both.
Yeah. One more thing I wanted to mention that I found really interesting is that even though they're watching like the same episodes that we saw, they also mention that there are other episodes going on. So from each era, because they're watching it over a period of time.
It's a whole season
It's a whole
1950s,
season that we're not seeing. So it's not 30 minutes of this and then 30 minutes of that. And then it's literally like, it's the 50s for 24 hours or whatever.
Yeah, right.
So we're seeing like seasons. We're only seeing like a fraction of a season of a sitcom.
That's so many bosses coming over for dinner episodes.
Oh my goodness, too many.
So many episodes where there's a fancy dinner on one side of the town and a pig wrestling event on the other.
You got to make the best pecan pie or whatever you're up to.
So many magic shows.
Yeah. Are you missing all the lasers and the punching at this point? Because I'm not really, to be honest.
Not at all, no.
Yeah, I think we're going to get that. So if you want to see it.
I don't think I was ever really in Marvel stuff for... I mean, it's great to have the lasers and the punching.
I mean, you can see that anywhere, really, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's every movie these days is lasers and punching, but what I'm there for is lasers and punching and wry remarks.
Yeah.
And this show has wry remarks in spades.
And the occasional callback where you're like, I know that person from a previous thing. Right. I'm invested. I've been watching these for 13 years. I remember this. This is for me.
This is Mark. Please.
Do you think this, though, is inaccessible to anybody who hasn't seen the other stuff? Because I know people who don't really watch the Marvel movies and watch, like, the first episode and they're just like, what is this? It's like an old sitcom. Yeah, and I'm like, well, that is what... Yes, it is like that.
But couldn't you say that about any kind of show that has a mysterious... vague supernatural
like a
premise?
Legion or...
Yeah, I think you can work backwards and go, okay, well, they're I mean, if you didn't know, if the Vision didn't look like the Vision, if you just looked like a regular man, I think you'd be like, well, these two people are trapped in a kind of a Pleasantville style world.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I think you could figure it out.
I mean, I didn't have a problem with it. I love it. I love it when they have a reference and I'm like, nobody gets that. None of my friends get that.
This
but
is for
I
me.
get
I get
it.
it.
This is for me and the millions of people who
That's
understand this. Yeah, which I really appreciate it. But yeah, I like it, to be honest. And look, we've got 4 to go, so we'll be coming back, won't we? Yes. For a good fun time, hopefully.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to go from here? Do you think it's going to go back to sitcom? Do you think we're going to have 2 more sitcom episodes?
I think it's probably going to go like half sitcom, half what's going on in the regular world now. I don't think you can go fully back to all sitcom.
That's right.
Because I think now that you've kind of peeled back the veil, you can't go all the way back to like mysteries again. It's like, no, you need to keep answering questions here, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That being said, I think a lot of questions were answered here. For me, it's not so much like the mysteries that intrigue me. It's like, how are we going to how is this going to unfold?
How are we going to get to the lasers and the punching?
How are we going to get to that? Yeah, exactly. I'm not really looking for like a mystery villain so much as like, what's going to be the outcome for these characters that I've been watching, but none of my friends understand. But 13 years, Mason.
Only me and the millions of other people. Billions, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I want to
Yeah.
know what happens to the Vision, and I want to know,
Yeah.
like, does Scarlet Witch go fully mad and create mutants and alternate realities? Because these also look like they are going to work into the next Spider-Man movie with multiple dimensions and Doctor Strange in the multiverse of madness. So I think this is going to branch off into all sorts of insanity afterwards, or just fun sitcom times, or lasers and punching, whatever. I'll take any and all things.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I do.
Also, like, great production values. We've talked about the Inhumans.
Yeah, quite recently. Yeah,
and we've got another episode on the Inhumans coming up, and it's just nice.
We ripped the Band-Aid off,
didn't we ever?
The remaining 5 hours of that Band-Aid, we just really ripped it off for hours and hours.
But it's nice to. It looks like a movie, doesn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's good. Anyways, if you have any theories, thoughts, questions, you can hit us up at Wikipedia Brown on Twitter.
At Mr. Sunday Movies on Twitter. If you want to, if you've got some theories as to who the villain is, you've got some theories as to where you think this series is going to go or what it's going to lead into, let us know.
Please, and we'll be back next week for a different episode of this. It'll be similar to this, but different. You know what I mean? How do people do 2-hour recaps of this? Do you know what I mean? We're just we're scraping around 20 minutes.
I think it'd be frame by frame, I reckon.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, let's get into it.
All right, here we go.
Frame 1, static. Okay.
Marvel presents.
What does that
What's
mean?
Marvel? Let's go to the Wikipedia page for Marvel.
No shade. I'm just saying I don't think I could. What are you doing for 2 hours?
Well, they're full of youth and vigor.
That's
you know what
true,
I mean?
exactly.
We're not
and
anymore.
we're full of piss and vinegar.
That's right.
So that's the difference, isn't it?
Yep.
All right, thanks for watching, guys. We have a podcast.
That's right.
And also we have a big sandwich where we have bonus podcasts and early videos if you want to sign
right.
up. So it's a Patreon tier, but we get all the money and Patreon gets none of the money. And they hate us for it, don't they, Mason?
That's right. We've learned one weird trick that Patreon hates.
Goodbye.
Grab that gem, you guys. We'll see you next week.